explanatory stories. Autonomous technology strives to be perfect. How do we actually get to that critical point where a car is incapable of causing a crash? Well, when a car does something unexpected, it's going to need to provide an unambiguous explanation of what happened in the line. We have reasonable fears about whether technology will always work in our best interest. Is the technology competent to do the jobs that we assign to it, particularly to keep us safe and to drive us autonomously? We need to make sure that the autonomous agents, given these powers to make life and death decisions, are capable of being audited, so that when something happens, the car can explain why did it happen. We can't trust what we don't understand, so we have to build cars that can explain their actions. So that's the second of, again, many research projects that we're starting just at the beginning of the description. Let me now talk a little bit about our future efforts in advancing scientific discovery, particularly in materials science. It's amazing. Human beings have been developing new materials since prehistoric times. The pace of advancement is held back, however, by the speed of human intuition and human experiment. What our interest at Toyota is finding new materials for a number of reasons. Materials that can increase the strength and lower the weight and the cost of cars. It includes materials that can improve the efficiency and lower the cost of fuel cells. Materials for all uses. What we aim to do at TRI in this field is to utilize computation and machine learning to accelerate scientific discovery in this area, to lower the cost and improve the performance of future mobility systems. So that's yet another area that we're going to work in. So let's change gears a little bit now, and I'm going to talk about people. At this point, I'm going to introduce a few of the initial members of our outstanding technical and advisory teams that will lead TRI. I'm only going to mention a few of them. The teams are actually bigger than what I'm going to say. Our initial technical team, in terms of directors of research, are going to include the following people in alphabetical order, as well as others. Number one, former Bell Labs department head and DARPA program manager Larry Jackel. He's going to work on machine learning. Number two, former DARPA program manager Eric Krotkov. He's going to be our chief operating officer. Number three, James Kuffner, CMU Professor, former head of Google Robotics. He's going to be our area lead in cloud computing. Number four, MIT Professor John Leonard, who will work part-time in the field of autonomous driving. Hiroshi Okajima, Project General Manager in the R&D Management Division of Toyota Motor Corporation, who will be our Executive Liaison Officer. And MIT Associate Professor Russ Tedrake, who will work part-time in the field of simulation and control. These 6 research directors who are with us today are going to join us later in a roundtable discussion that I'd like to invite you to. And in fact, that's a small fraction of the people that we plan to have. We've already hired around a dozen or so other technical people. The number is growing every day, so please stay tuned. In addition to those research directors inside of TRI, we are advised by a board that includes some of the world's deepest thinkers in technological innovation. Again, the board is larger, but I'm going to highlight just a few of them today. Number one, Emeritus MIT Professor Rodney Brooks, who's the former director of the MIT Computer Science and AI Lab, the founder of iRobot Corporation, and the founder and chairman and CTO of Rethink Robotics. Number two on our list of advisors, the Honorable Richard Danzig, former Secretary of the U.S. Navy, who is an expert in cybersecurity. Number three, NYU Professor Jan LeCun, who is the director of the Artificial Intelligence Lab at Facebook. Number four, John Roos, former CEO of Wilson Sonsini, Goodrich, and Rosati, former U.S. Ambassador to Japan, currently a partner at Geodesic Capital, which is a large state venture capital firm, and senior advisor at Centerview Partners. John is a preeminent expert in technological innovation in Silicon Valley. This technical team, as I mentioned, the advisory team, as I mentioned, are larger, still growing, and we're going to confirm more people and announce them soon. We're also collaborating with other parts of Toyota. This includes the Toyota Technological Institute in Chicago, the Toyota Research Institute of North America in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the Toyota Central Research and Development Labs in Japan. So we're gathering together, both from inside of Toyota and outside, the best and the brightest people to work with TRI on specific technology, with specific goals and incredible applications, not only in automotive, but way beyond automotive. So Bob Carter made an important point earlier about the importance of identifying your goals and figuring out how to get there as quickly as possible. So at Toyota, we believe that when good ideas are shared, great things can happen. So the example that Bob gave was about the Hydrogen Society. A hydrogen society that in our future goes way beyond automobiles. And to that end, as Bob mentioned, Toyota is sharing 5,600 patents, a little bit more, in this area with Recharge. In the same way, TRI is going to enthusiastically pursue collaborations with others. I want to make that very clear. We don't have not invented here syndrome. We really do. We want to collaborate with other OEMs, with other IT companies, with other suppliers, with other research firms, and with universities. We want to do that to jointly develop autonomy technology for safety and accessibility, and there's a lot to be accomplished. So $1 billion is a tremendous investment by Toyota, but we believe that by collaborating with others, we can have an even greater effect. So let me close with some Toyota history and try to put it all in perspective. History. 1933, Toyota recognized that the world was changing. Our company back then was making fabric looms, but automobiles were defining the future of mechanical manufacturing. So the company back then did an incredible and brave thing. It used the capital that it had earned from its loom business, and it started a new business in the automotive space. That's the business we know Toyota mostly for today, although in fact there are some others. TRI, the formation of TRI, reflects a similar understanding by Toyota. Toyota has traditionally been a hardware company, first and foremost, because in the past the most important technology for enhancing human mobility was hardware. In fact, there was an old joke, I like it a lot. Toyota is the world's best manufacturing company. It just happens to make cars. But times now are changing. And as Bob first explained, software and data are now essential components of Toyota's future mobility strategy. Furthermore, the need for machines to assist in mobility has broadened from cars and trucks outdoors to indoors. It's fueled by our aging society and also the remarkable progress in electronics that has expanded the realm of what is possible. And this is why Toyota and TRI are working to transform mobility from outdoors to include indoors. In fact, when we think about the love that people have for their cars, home robots may eventually become even more personally prized in the future than cars have been in the past. Who knows what will be like. So TRI's goal is to bridge the gap between research and development to make a real difference in what products Toyota produces in the future. And it's entirely possible, thinking about our history, that robots are going to become, for today's Toyota, what the car industry was back when Toyota was making looms. It's an incredible challenge to think about that kind of transformation.